All right, Tyler's making me use this now. He got rid of my other mic. He made me destroy it, so I can't use it anymore after telling me that mic was great. Now I have to use this one.
They're both good.
They're both good, he says, off camera. But I think it's an effort to sabotage me. Anyway, that's not why I'm doing this video. We're not talking audio technology. We're talking about as the Ferrari turns. Huge development for AJ, huge development potentially for the sport of wrestling. AJ Ferrari, who found himself in some serious legal hot water. His charges have been dismissed. That is done and behind AJ now. And so with that being said, the question is, what is AJ going to do next? And if you had listened to his brother Angelo on the Clash of Combat podcast, it was like, well, maybe he'll return to college wrestling. Maybe he'll just transition straight to MMA. But now that we have a little more finality on what AJ's going to do, it seems like soon we're going to find out what his intentions actually are. Now, he still has an undetermined amount of eligibility, right? And we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, I want to talk about something that could be in his way and a potential impediment from rejoining college wrestling immediately. And there's something called progress toward degree, which is like an NCAA thing. But basically, once you start school, which AJ did in the 2020-2021 school year, he started school then. And once you start, you have to be making a certain amount of progress towards your degree. Now, in the winter of 2022, AJ had his car crash, and that ended his season. But he didn't leave Oklahoma State until the summer. So theoretically, his sophomore year, he was in school, and maybe through that summer, he was taking classes at Oklahoma State. But since that time, he's not been a student at Oklahoma State. So the question is, during the last year, when he's not been in any NCAA institution, has he been taking classes? Has he been taking community college classes? And it sounds like the answer to that question is yes. And if that's so, if that is the case, then AJ is likely in pretty good standing to re-enter college wrestling this season. Now, I don't think we would see him first semester. I think that would be a long shot and probably not even his goal. I think we wouldn't see AJ Ferrari as a collegiate wrestler until second semester. But as I mentioned, this is a guy with a lot of options, including if he wanted to, he could take an Olympic red shirt this year. Okay. That's on the table. He qualifies because he's a cadet world medalist. If you're a cadet world medalist, you qualify for an Olympic red shirt. He could do that. I don't see AJ doing that. I see him wanting to re-enter college wrestling, which the natural next topic of discussion is, well, where will he go? Now, that question seems pretty intuitive to answer because his brother, Angelo, has committed to the University of Iowa. His brother, Anthony, also has committed to the University of Iowa. Anthony's there in Iowa City right now. Now, he's not on the team yet. I don't believe he's in the University of Iowa, but I believe he's working towards that. And I think we could see Anthony Ferrari as an Iowa wrestler as soon as second semester as well. So the question is, will AJ join the University of Iowa, a team that, from a wrestling perspective, could absolutely benefit and, frankly, really needs an AJ Ferrari type of wrestler at 197. 197 is an absolute need weight for the Hawkeyes coming into this year, and you could have a potential NCAA champion filling that lineup for how long? That's the question. Okay, so let's do a quick eligibility check or years used check for AJ Ferrari. So his first year, he won NCAAs. That was the COVID year. That did not count for anyone's eligibility. So even though he's already an NCAA champion, the year he won NCAAs didn't count against his eligibility. Then we go to his sophomore year. Now, he wrestled in November all the way through January. January 23rd, I think, was his last match. So you say, hey, that's a big chunk of the season. And then he got in that car crash. Very serious car accident. It ended his season. And at that point, the thought was, he probably is not going to qualify for a medical. But in this day and age, you have no idea. There's really no way to tell if he will or won't. Now, I would lean to the side of that he won't get that year back. But with the NCAA and how, I won't say willy-nilly, but just how liberally they're giving out extra years, there's a case that he could get that year. Caden Gfeller actually is a pretty good example of someone. I think he wrestled into February, and he ended up getting a year back. So you never know. So I wouldn't count that out. But at a minimum, I think AJ's probably going to have 3 years of eligibility remaining. If they don't count his injury year, if they say that one doesn't count either, and the COVID year doesn't count, which is already determined, last year could be a red shirt, and AJ Ferrari could have 4. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be 3. So Iowa could plug him in for the next 3 years. You've got Anthony potentially coming in at 149 pounds. Angelo coming in next year. You're going to have a whole Ferrari dealership in Iowa City. And what they can do on the wrestling mat is unquestionable. They're really, really good. AJ has already proven what he can do at the NCAA level. So what does second semester mean? Well, they wouldn't have him for the Iowa State duel, but here's some of the duels you could see AJ Ferrari wrestling. You could see him against Oklahoma State, which obviously that could be potential fireworks, facing, the team where he wrestled and won an NCAA title, and Penn State. And now why Penn State is so significant. 1, it's Iowa versus Penn State every single year. It's the most discussed dual meet that wrestling has. But 2, Aaron Brooks is moving up to 197 pounds. Aaron Brooks is a 3-time NCAA champion going for his 4th. AJ Ferrari is an NCAA champion at 197, okay? That's going to be the most discussed, talked about match all year long, without a doubt, bar none. AJ Ferrari first versus Aaron Brooks. And if he transfers second semester, that's a match we could see before Big Tens, before NCAAs. We could see it at the dual meet. And it not only is that an incredible duel, but AJ joining Iowa in conjunction with, it looks like the gambling situation at Iowa, the penalties could be potentially minimum. Now, there's nothing official there, but the writing on the wall there is that Iowa's going to have basically their full team. And if that's the case, and you add AJ Ferrari, this Penn State-Iowa duel suddenly comes into question, right? This suddenly goes from a route for Penn State to, wait, all these guys are back, and you add AJ Ferrari? There's a path. Now, the real $10,000 question here is, can AJ and the addition of really all of Iowa's team from last year, plus Caliendo Frantic, is that enough to put them over the top against Penn State? I still think no. I still think at the end of the day, it's not about how Iowa could do. Penn State's going to have to come back to them. And what does that look like? That looks like an injury that impacts the end of the season, like Big Ten's NCAA. Someone gets eliminated, which is something we really haven't seen from many Penn State guys outside of maybe Anthony Cassar, right? Hasn't happened much. Then you also need, so if it's not an injury, it's some sort of regression, which is also another thing we haven't seen from a lot of the elite Penn State guys. Now, you could look at some other guys. You could say, hey, Shane Van Ness, he had an amazing NCAAs, but you look at his full season, maybe it wasn't there. But you're going to err on the side of, 1, blue chip talent, 2, what he did at NCAAs. He really proved himself there, getting 3rd. And 3, he's in a great environment to improve and continue to ascend to be an elite 149 pounder. So I still think it's probably a long shot for Iowa to run down Penn State. But man, if there's one thing that college wrestling has taught us, is that to expect the unexpected. And man, with the Ferraris, truer words never spoken, because you never know what they're going to bring to the table. But on the wrestling mat, they typically answer all the questions. So we'll see what happens with AJ. I don't think we're going to find out anytime soon what's going to happen there, but don't be surprised if come second semester, we've got not 1, but 2 Ferrari brothers on the Iowa roster.